What is dystopia? What makes up a dystopian fiction? How can you tell if a game, a novel, or a movie has a dystopian theme or concept behind its story? Well, according to the all knowing Oxford English Dictionary, dystopia is an imagined state or society in which there is great suffering and injustice. Take note of those two. Typically, one that is totalitarian or post apocalyptic. Exact opposite siya ng word na utopia, which is a term that was invented by Sir Thomas More, which basically defined utopia itself, an ideal society with minimal crime, violence, and poverty. Pretty much unlikely in reality as compared to dystopia. Mass poverty, abuse of government power, invasion of privacy, supply crisis, overpopulation, and underpopulation. These are most of the common themes and situations na makikita mo sa mga dystopian fiction. Kaya madalas natin ma-confuse yung dystopian and post-apocalyptic genre. Keep in mind na magkaiba yung dalawang yon because a post-apocalyptic setting can also be a dystopia, but a dystopian setting is not automatically a post-apocalyptic world. The word itself is pretty self-explanatory. Post-apocalyptic, after end of the world. Most dystopian worlds still have a working state or an economy. Yun nga lang pa-decline na. So, the keyword really here is in the brink of collapse. Wala pang end of the world pero isang kalabit na lang. And the titles on this list have made it because there is enough, as Oxford Dictionary defines it, great suffering and injustice. That's why titles like I Am Legend, World War Z, and Train to Busan, and other zombie flicks are not included in this list. I have it in good faith na I've only chosen the best titles for each dystopian theme or subgenre sa list na to. And so here are the 10 dystopian movies you need to watch right now because they are likely to happen somewhere, somehow, sometime. We'll start hard with number 1, Children of Men. Children of Men is a sci-fi action thriller that takes place in 2027, where society is already in the brink of collapse after 20 years of women and fertility. So basically, underpopulation yung pinaka main problem nila dito. Kasi wala nang nabubuntis na babae for almost 2 decades. And it really led to more problematic things such as state abuse and indifference to immigrants. Lalo na isang state na lang, yung UK na lang yung natitirang state na humihinga pa yung economy and society. As bleak and chaotic this made up reality may be, the state of things in this world are not so far away in the world we live in right now. In US alone, especially nung time na ginagawa pa tong movie na to, major problem na talaga tong indifference sa immigrants. And this year, we all know how its leaders acted and handled things from there.
We will build a great wall along the southern border. And Mexico will pay for the wall.
It's easy to watch Theo's linear story throughout the movie. Theo, the movie lead, is an apathetic civil servant na napilitang magkaroon ulit ng pakialam after seeing a glimpse of hope in this pregnant girl named Key. Bagay na hindi na dapat nag-exist sa world nila kasi 2 decades na nga walang nabubuntis doon. Coron, the director of the film, is known for his extremely long takes of shots, focusing not only on the foreground, but mostly on the background as well, giving us an immersive and easy-to-ride visual storytelling. Ganda nga siguro nito sa IMAX kung napanood ko lang. Kasi mostly talaga ng scenes and moments sa movie na to is taken from the point of view of Theo. And ironic nga kasi yung movie na to, it's supposed to leave you empty and scarred for life. But the filmmakers behind it have found a way to make it fun and entertaining, and also bearable to watch. Number 2, Akira. Akira is a 1988 Japanese animated sci-fi film with a cyberpunk subgenre. Akira takes place in 2019, last year, and it tells a story of Shotaro Kaneda, leader of a biker gang who had an accident that led to his brain being experimented on by a bunch of scientists, so much so that he acquired telekinesis after this procedure. And dito ako unang na-introduce sa cyberpunk. I didn't even know the word dystopian back then. And wala akong naintindihan sa first encounter ko with Akira. And that's perfectly normal. You will probably miss a lot of detail watching it the first time. But if you really have a strong attention to detail, then good for you. Kasi that only means na you can probably read between the lines and make sense of the figures of speech na ginagamit sa Akira. Like this iconic line from Canada, what if there were some mistake and the progression went wrong? Something like an amoeba were given power like a humans. Medyo obscure tong line na to at first glance, pero it's actually open enough for an interpretation or interpretations. Canada here might be implying na if an amoeba or any single celled bacteria will be given the chance to gain the powers of humans, then that bacteria or amoeba will appear as a god amongst its kind. Pwede rin sinasabi nila dito na a mere human being cannot handle this kind of godly powers. Some point he will only hurt himself and the world around him. You see, the dystopian genre is only a theatrical backdrop for these films. But if the characters and storytelling leaves you pondering shit about bacteria and God, then that movie is definitely something. Kakaibang approach kasi ito eh. That's why I chose Akira over other dystopian animated movies. And the fact na 1988 to ni-release make things more interesting hanggang ngayon. This movie can still open up the most relevant conversations kahit 2020 na. Akira is really a timeless piece of art. Number 3, Blade Runner franchise. A yet another sci-fi cyberpunk film. But don't get me wrong kasi nauna tong ma-release in 1982 kesa sa Akira noong 1988. You'll be surprised by how much similarities meron tong Akira at Blade Runner. Both are incidentally set in 2019, but instead of espers, Blade Runner has replicants or AIs. Both movies are based on a book and manga. Ridley Scott based Blade Runner and a short story. Yung Akira naman was based off a manga na ginawa rin ng director ng Akira. Blade Runner had its sequel on 2017 and Akira will get a live action in 2021. It's gonna be directed by Mr. Taika Waititi. These two really set the stage properly for the waves of cyberpunk pop culture to arrive. It's one of the first greatest movies to ever tackle the technological singularity and the old sci-fi trope of men versus machines or AI. And I don't want to give too much about the movies. Guys, just give it a go. It's original, it's unique, it's revolutionary, it's everything. Number 4, Mad Max Fury Road. George Miller, the creator of franchise, said to have based the Mad Max in Australia's 1979 oil crisis, and the first trilogy happened between 1980 to 2003. I still haven't seen this trilogy. I hope to one day, but there must be a reason why they had to do a remake. And it definitely paid off nung nirelease nila tong Fury Road. And this is set to be a trilogy, so I've only seen one. But the sheer epicness of this movie will leave you wanting for more. Partido wala pang backstories yung mga characters dito. So, ang pinaka-interesting talaga sa movie ay yung world building, yung action scenes, at yung socially relevant na themes. And based on the title, Mad Max, you would think na si Max yung sole protagonist dito. But just wait till you see Furiosa. She holds almost all the redemption from the movie's cold and hard themes of survival, patriarchy, and the struggle for equality. This is definitely a must see. Number 5, Ready Player One. I'm not exaggerating it when I say that it's the most entertaining dystopian film ever. because of its epic CGI and awesome battle scenes. And it's all thanks to the whole idea of the filmmakers behind it to create an imagined world where all of our favorite pop culture references are presented purely for fan service. It's a 2018 American sci-fi film directed by none other than Steven Spielberg. There's this huge suffering and injustice going on in the movie, and probably a loss of individualism as well. As we are now at this point in time where reality and gaming is almost one and the same. Maybe it's also partly utopian. We're already in the peak of gaming. All of our wishes and dreams already came true by building this artificial world. Number 6, V for Vendetta. We all know what this is. The widely popular story of V, with a Guy Fawkes mask that is now being used as a placard or icon to protest against tyranny and dictatorship. And also the inspirational title behind the YouTube channel called V for Variety. Hindi ko alam kung familiar kayo sa page na yun, pero try nyo mag-subscribe. V for Vendetta is a classic revenge movie that is set in a dystopian political world. Other political dystopian films, such as Metropolis in 1984, can easily take the stand of V for Vendetta in this list. Hell, those two films and other classic dystopian novels are just a few influence of this movie. Consider them bonus titles if you want, or if you're into vintage movies at all. But as long as there's greed and abuse in power in this society, movies like these will never get old. Number 7, A Clockwork Orange. If you've never seen any Stanley Kubrick film, then this is your perfect entry to his works. Just keep an open mind while watching it kasi may pagka-repulsive yung movie. And I'm not talking about gore when I say repulsive, but do not just watch this randomly with your family. A Clockwork Orange is a 1971 dystopian crime film adapted, produced, and directed by Stanley Kubrick based sa novel ni Anthony Burgess na napublish noong 1962 with the same name. The movie takes place in a futuristic Britain, and it follows the main character Alex, the leader of the night gang. Basically, mga batang hamog na ang trip manloob, magnakaw, at mang-rape ng kung sino-sino. Long story short, nakulong si Alex and nabigyan siya ng chance makalaya after a shady clinical trial and a wild experiment to his brain that would really fuck him up for the rest of the movie. A Clockwork Orange is an interesting take on our current social and political issues. And if you're a fan of cinematography and filmmaking in general, this should really be right up your alley. Number 8, Her. Her is a 2013 American sci-fi romantic film, written and directed and produced by Spike Jonze. This movie is set in a futuristic Los Angeles, where it follows Theodore, who recently divorced his childhood lover and is working as a writer for a high-tech postcard company. Basically, ang trabaho nito ni Theodore is magsulat ng mga love letters, and these love letters are not even handwritten, but it's his own thoughts. Siya talaga yung nagsusulat ng mga to. Sasabihin niya lang yung words, and yung computer na yung bahalang mag-emulate ng handwriting ng client or customer na gustong magpagawa ng love letter. And at this point of the movie, hindi ko alam kung maa-amaze ba ako kasi cool yung concept or medyo matatakot na kasi how many years na lang kaya before this shit comes to reality? Oh, and long story short, Theodore bought himself this virtual assistant with a built-in artificial intelligence called OS1. He named it Samantha, and he fell in love with it. Her is a very unique emotional take in technological singularity, where an AI's capability to interact with us collides with human consciousness. And if this shit happens in real life, or at least in movies, expect the craziest and most unpredictable things to ever take place in history. Number 9, Never Let Me Go. Never Let Me Go is a 2010 British dystopian romantic tragedy film. It's based on Kazuo Ishiguro's 2005 novel with the same title. Never Let Me Go is an alternative history centers on Kathy, Ruth, and Tommy, who all became entangled in this love triangle. It's later implied in the movie that these characters are just a bunch of clones, and their only purpose in this world is to donate their organs to us humans. And I'm saying internal organs with a hard S, meaning they have to do the shit for as long as they can. I know this movie really got to me because I held back tears from watching it. And for a movie to hit this hard, it really deserves a credit. Well played, Never Let Me Go. Well played. Number 10, The Truman Show. The Truman Show is a 1998 American sci fi drama directed by Peter Weir. The movie follows the story of Truman Burbank, a man who grew up living an ordinary life. Little does he know, his life is actually being staged on a large artificial world and is being aired 24/7 for a television show all about him. Maraming mga nakatagong messages sa theme ng movie na 'to. Madami ring na-open up na mga dialogues patungkol sa mga sensitive topics kagaya ng existentialism, invasion of privacy, simulated reality, indoctrination, Christianity in general, and just the Abrahamic God na may pagka-similar talaga kay Christoph na gumawa ng show ni Truman. Christoph, who literally watches things from above, resembles almost everything in a Christian God. The Truman Show is probably the closest to our reality. Most of its dystopian stuff are just projections years from now. But aside from that, the rest of the movie feels like real. Our obsession in media, meddling with other people's affairs and lives online, especially if it's a celebrity, and the mere existence of the lifestyle of the people in North Korea. It's as if they are also living in this imagined reality, brainwashed to believe that this is the only world and there's one true God, and that is their prime minister. Alam mo yun, kung nag exist na pala tong mga to independently, it's only a matter of time for this kind of thing to happen in real life. Trust me, with how things are going right now, hindi malabong in late capitalism, magkaroon tayo ng gantong klaseng Truman Show in reality. That ends our list for today. I hate being preachy, pero that can really be scary if you come to think of it. Lalo na ngayon na para tayong nasa loob ng isang poorly written sci-fi dystopian film na sobrang laki ng budget pero napakapangit ng pagkakagawa. But guess what? All dystopian fictions, they're all likely to happen. And it's true and fine that most of us are only in it for the fun factor. But you know what I find interesting? There were over 100 films about viral outbreaks before COVID. God knows how many dialogues have been opened up already to the science community. But no one really took this shit seriously. I don't know. Maybe the message just wasn't clear enough for us. And maybe this was all just a one big conspiracy to wreak havoc.
They had a fucking vote in the goddamn fucking Senate.
That's a conspiracy theory.
But this was an ultimate lesson for all of us. Sabi nga ni Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know it's true when every disaster movie begins with a scientist being ignored. That's why right now, it's always best to be informed in the right way. Pwede mong mahambing talaga yung pagnood mo ng dystopian genre pag uma-attend ka ng health seminar. Hindi ko alam kung naka-attend na ba kayo ng kahit anong health seminar. Hindi ko rin alam kung ako lang to. But mostly ng mga speakers na na-encounter ko sa mga health seminars is graphic sila magkwento. And when I say graphic, kadiring detail after kadiring detail about sa sakit, yung mga sinasabi nila, at katakot-takot na mga komplikasyon. But the bigger picture is they want to give you a transparent heads up, a red flag. And I think ayun yung pinaka-point ng genre na to. These titles are only cautionary tales. And it's usually unpleasant to see something so seemingly harmless can escalate to the most irreversible and fucked up situations. Knowing well na resolvable naman pala itong mga to in the first place, if we only acted properly and did the right thing when there was enough time. But chin up, son. Good news pa rin kasi umattend ka ng seminar. None of these are true, but if you want, they can be. As of now, all of these are just movies and nothing but figments. Alas, you've been informed, but most importantly, you have been warned. That's it for this video. Kung nagustuhan niyo yung list na yon, hit the like button and leave comments down below. I wanna know your thoughts about this list. And if you think maraming missing na titles sa list na to, I wanna know what titles are those. So kindly leave them down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching B for Variety. Pause na ako. See you next vid. Peace.